I am Doomsvince, and this is day 10 of Spawn Year.
This issue is really fun because I'm reading along and all of a sudden 6 pages in, there's this neat little puzzle, like a fun little interactive game right there in the comic book. How many of these copyrighted comic characters can you identify by their arms sticking through the bars? Most are pretty easy if you read much DC and Marvel. All the big names are there: Batman, Superman, Wolverine, Venom, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Hulk, Spider-Man. It's kind of fun until I realize it's not a game, but rather a blatant, one-sided statement against the mainstream comic industry and how it treats its talent and the characters they create. Spawn has apparently been transported to a place between the third and fourth wall, with Dave Sim's Cerebus as his guide. Sim actually wrote this issue, but clearly Todd McFarlane heavily influenced the story and its message. Spawn keeps saying in narration, "I am not Spawn." Not so much in the way Leonard Nimoy years ago once wrote, "I am not Spock," but rather, I think, to tell me this issue is only really loosely connected to the reality of the 9 issues I've read previously. Here in this bizarre realm where characters know they're a fiction and were created by a comic writer, Spawn knows the answers to all the burning questions he's been asking, but of course, doesn't reveal them to the reader. This issue literally is a 22-page political cartoon, a PSA about the dangers of working in the comic industry. It isn't interested in exploring an issue, but rather presenting it on its terms and telling the reader how he should feel about it. All the noble superheroes are trapped in a cell together, no longer free to be what they were intended to be, now controlled by the big companies that own them, and their creators stand tied up with bags over their heads, condemned for selling their creations. And in this world, Spawn gets to live happily ever after, with his wife and a daughter he could really give her because McFarlane didn't sell out. As a side note, with all the talk of heroes, champions, etc., and name drops in that list like Watchmen and Avengers, I wonder why villains like Dr. Octopus, Joker, and Juggernaut are there. Superman is there, his most copyrighted part secluded by Shadow, representing, of course, the first of the superheroes, and the beginning of the sellouts. Spawn tries to save them, but he fails, and is taunted by a parody of Lady Justice, a violator with a female body made of dollar bills, with a bloody heart, what else, on one side of the scale, and money bags on the other. I'm sure the idea is, even with Spawn's, meaning McFarlane's, shining example of independence and creator ownership, in the end, it will never change how the big companies take advantage of their creators and how they don't foster original thinking. And certainly, there's a point here, but when it's made in such an obvious, in-your-face way, it's hard for me to recognize or even care about the truth in it. This issue, while certainly entertaining in its surrealness and over-the-top symbolism, is the dictionary definition of self-indulgent. It might as well have been renamed Todd's Soapbox, this one issue. That's what Stan Lee used to call his letters page, Stan's Soapbox, and that's the place for a creator to speak his mind about the business. And McFarlane did, and still does, every chance he gets. So I wonder if this issue was really about bringing a problem that was close to his heart, and maybe Dave Sim's too, to an unaware audience, or if he just wanted to repeat the same sermon he had preached since he started Image in a new way. I suspect he had planned this for a while, considering there's a foreshadowing panel in the previous issue where Spawn actually dreams about the arms behind the locked gate. A more subtle and sophisticated exploration of character ownership, perhaps in a story that isn't so on the nose but parallels the issues, would have been more welcome. But the whole thing is worth it just for the image of Spawn in full costume throwing his baby in the air. Signed, Captain Logan.